recognize these are all doing a great job in bringing about the teaching material standardization. Now we come to the functional architecture, and we will discuss the standard-driven distributed architecture and how to make them interoperable. What is this functional model? Our functional model, based on our previous discussion, should provide a visual representation of the components of an e-learning system. It should also draw a visual map of the objects to be drawn across these systems. It should track the learning content as per the learner's profile. As I just explained, each learner's profile is stored, and a course which is tailor-made to the learner's preferences is given to the learner or the student. And this functional model is also influenced by standardized models such as COM and IMS. Because we cannot change legacy systems overnight. So these standards are drawn upon what are being commonly used in most of the institutions. Instead of asking all of them to change, we drop some standards based on what is generally in use and then provide some recommendations. In addition, we divide the functionalities between a learning management system and a learning content management system. In the future slides, we will see what's the difference between the two. What is the advantage is splitting them into LMS and LCMS. It focuses on separate functionalities. It clearly defines each of these components functionalities so that one is student facing or client facing and the other is process facing. A standard functional model can be represented in this way. There are, let's say, content experts or SMEs, subject matter experts. There are teachers, and then there are users. Users, we refer to them as learners or students. Now we have divided our system into LMS, which is on the right of the screen, and LCMS, which is on the left of the screen. One might ask, what's the difference? And LCMS actually enables the content experts or the creators of the content to develop the content. It not only distributes the content, it also has the capability of allowing the creation of content. Now a student doesn't need this because a student is not creating a content. A teacher may also not need this if a teacher is just teaching the content. But a content creator needs to have this functionality. So that, let us say we have a book on physics, but tomorrow it needs to bring about a second edition. What do? Do we take out a second book like we do in printed formats? There's a better way to do it. We just push in the upgraded material at the requisite place. Now this can be done or enabled by the LCMS, Learning Content Management System. So it provides content authoring tools. It also provides content assembly tools. As we had discussed earlier, different students might have different learning profiles or different learning preferences. Let's say a student, let's take the example of the student who wants to combine history with computer architecture. So this learning content assembly tool will create the course for the student where it will take content from computer history or other histories and computer architecture and forms a course for this particular student. Now an LMS cannot do this on the fly. Then there is remote service which is provided by LCMS, which enables experts from anywhere globally, literally sitting anywhere in the world, to access the system so that we can actually delve deep into the talent pool that is available globally in order to enrich the learning content. So you can have your experts logging in from anywhere and authoring your learning content. The Learning Content Manager now integrates the content authoring tools and assembly tools. It creates a course in its repository, content repository. The tracking engine actually tracks which course is being utilized, let's say all the data mining of how the course is being utilized, how popular it is, how required it is, so that we get a feedback, or the institution, educational institution gets a feedback on how effective each course is. And finally we come to the delivery environment. So LCMS, once it integrates subject matters, course material and assembles the course, it actually delivers it to the LMS. Now once it goes into the LMS, the teacher may have limited course authoring. Definitely the teacher can change the learning plan, because we can't have a rigid learning plan. It will have its own course manager, so that in case of emergencies, if you need to change the course a bit, the LMS can be allowed to do so. And then it will have a collaborative environment, and then it will manage the learner profile. Based on the learner profile, it will distribute the courses. The LMS will also be having the learner registration manager within its scope. And in addition to all of these, in cloud-based e-learning systems, we might want to introduce the remote service. So this is the functional model proposed for LCMS and LMS. Next we will see how these will communicate with each other. As we had discussed, an LCMS is a multi-use environment. The learning content developers can create, store, reuse, archive, etc., all the digitalized content. LMS also manages processes around the learning objects. But LCMS manages the creation, reuse and archive of these courses, and finally it delivers it to the LMS. The functional model also separates LMS and LCMS very clearly in giving them each a role. It sets up creation and communication standards to make sure there is no confusion. It also allows multiple tools and repositories to communicate with it, so that learning content is seamlessly distributed to the learner without any disturbances. And the interoperability between LMS and LCMS is established using web services, which is what we see now.